What's good? Good afternoon. It is absolutely friggin' beautiful weather for February in the Pacific Northwest. We've had multiple days of 50-degree sunshine. That's awesome, particularly because we're outside siding the addition to a house we just did. Maybe I'll upload a short because it's really quality work. We're kicking butt. But anyways, not at all the subject of the video. The subject of this video was inspired by an Instagram page, the.nomad.soul, the Nomad Soul. I've been following him for years. Like, I think I found him during the fake plague event, and I respect people who speak up against the fake plague, or who spoke up and who continue to speak up against the evils of the state, the evils of the ruling class, the evils of the aristocracy. And this particular individual has been posting a lot lately, emotionally, in a very angry fashion and capacity, which it provoked within me to do some reflection and some introspection. And I even commented on a few of the posts. You know, one of the comments I was like, I said something, anger is a poison, brother. You know, you're right on a lot of things, but you can't let the anger consume you. And a lot of people sort of poo-pooed my comment, saying that I'm allowing evil to flourish because I am being weak towards evil. Specifically in reference to like all of the files that have been released. And if you're not, I don't know what to say, because for years I've been saying it. But if after now that the massive dumps have occurred of info and it's pretty much unequivocally true that pedophilic elites run our globe, our planet, using blackmail and banking and the state to control and manipulate people and to consolidate power and resources. That's the thing I focus on, is the consolidation of power and resources, because that is ultimately their objective, because power and resources allow people to conduct evil. If you're the people in power, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And so anyway, I noticed the Nomad Soul was angry, and because I had made that comment and people were coming after me, instead of me being triggered and defensive, I said, you know what? Let me think about what they're saying, how they're feeling, and if maybe in this moment I'm in the wrong. And to a degree, I think I was in the wrong. I admit that I was in the wrong, because I have been maybe not serious enough, or I have not been discussing enough this very difficult subject. Part of the reason I have not been discussing it is because of the inherent risk that comes with it. So what is the subject? How do we make guillotines great again? I am not at all calling for any action at the current moment. I am simply asking a question. This is why it's difficult to discuss, because how do you discuss justified, violent revolution against a tyrannical government when said government will throw you in jail, or they will do other things to compromise you, whether it be throwing you in jail, killing you, blackmailing you. There's so many different ways that they will shut you up. And so, how does a mainstream movement supporting justifiable use of force, how does it gain traction when the mainstream is controlled? And so it's an extremely complicated question for a lot of reasons, because we're having to, deal with the apparatus of control that prevents such conversations. But then also, this is why I've held so many reservations or I have so many reservations, because I do believe many people need guillotined. But how do we do so in a just and moral way that will enable the foundation for the future to be ethical and moral? Because yeah, we can just go kill a bunch of people and that might help things for a little bit, but I think there needs to be more. I'm not saying a different approach, because murder, or capital punishment, there we go, capital punishment, that's a better, more moral way to frame it, is justified in this situation. But how do we do so where in the future we look back at the past and say that was really unfortunate that we had to do it, but we did truly have to do it? So there needs to be a certain level of collective support. Not unanimous, because you're not going to get unanimous, but what is that level? What is the percent? What is the collective support level that justifies the murder of people who need it, who need dealt with? So that's part of the problem. But then also, how do you go about actually doing it? This person, the Nomad Soul that inspired this video, he's really angry that people aren't out in the streets taking matters into their own hands, but that's not strategic. That will not yield meaningful results. You might get one or two here and there, but in such a disorganized and chaotic fashion, if you were to try and implement some plans, you're just going to accelerate the introduction of more of a police state. A few key people get taken out, and so the government says, oh, we just need to crack down. We need to crack down, increase the surveillance state, increase the police state. We need to fight dissidents, which, go watch one of my previous videos, the one about the dialectic and ICE, because that's exactly what is happening right now. ICE going into neighborhoods and that resistance and conservatives calling for it, that is setting the stage for federal governments to go after citizen dissidents. We've already seen it in, smaller cases here and there. What's that? We won't get into that, but we're going to see it more and more regardless. And so I'm not saying I have solutions, because I don't. I have ideas, which is to make the guillotine great again. But how do we do that? Honestly, let's have that conversation. And at no point do I suggest someone go take action right now, because to do so right now, I do not believe would be the most strategic approach. What I think we should be doing is trying to mainstream this very nebulous idea of taking matters into our own hands, but tactically and morally and ethically. I've said this a lot in a lot of my videos. If you get bored and watch, I do not relish the thought of violence. I really don't. I've never taken an animal's life. I want to maybe get into hunting and homesteading, which means I might need to, and I kind of dread it, honestly. It saddens me. I am so blessed to have been raised in the Pacific Northwest, where there is a strong indigenous culture. And from a very young age, something that stuck with me was their reverence for nature. They truly understood that it was a gift. Like, I remember learning in like the 4th grade, them teaching us that, yes, we hunt, but that's because that is a gift from nature to us, and we must be thankful for it. And we must, in a sense, pray for it. And so when they do pray over an animal whose life they just took to feed them, it's because they're honoring the sacrifice that animal made to contribute to nature. So my phone's about to die. Let me wrap it up. How? Like, I would love some feedback, and I would love to get this cultural conversation started without us all getting thrown in jail. But maybe we will meet in the gulags, brother or sister. Much love.